Hello, my name is Davies. This is my presentation for the development of key skills for engineers, assignment 2. My presentation is on Alfred Nobel. So Alfred Nobel was an engineer, a chemist and an inventor. He was born in Sweden in 1833. He held 355 patents to his name over the period of his life. His first patent was granted in the UK actually, for the gas meter. Actually, it was something this guy invented. He's most famously known for inventions like dynamite, Nobelium, which is a synthetic element named after himself, and obviously Nobel Prizes. So his early life and career, he moved to St. Petersburg following his father, who moved there to set up a new business venture. He moved there in 1842. That's where his father set up a manufacturing company in machining tools and also explosives, which is quite ironic considering how he would progress through his later life to invent such things like dynamite. In 1850, so he was still quite young, only 17, he moved to Paris to study, where he met, I'm not going to try and pronounce that name, and he was actually the inventor of nitroglycerin, which is a very famous compound, who actually, a lot of people would credit Alfred Nobel with inventing this, but it wasn't him. And then when he was 18, he moved to the US to travel. So dynamite, his most famous invention, really. So during his time when he was in Paris working alongside said inventor, Nobel was absolutely infatuated on developing nitroglycerin into a more stable compound. So because of the lack of stability of nitroglycerin, his work partner was always very insistent that it shouldn't be used. However, Nobel really pushed and it was just infatuated with that it could be used to better explosive. At the time, sort of, we're talking mid-1800s, gunpowder was still the most commonly used explosive. So in 1864, a nitroglycerin factory exploded, actually killing 5 people, including one of Nobel's brothers, which is very strange to think that, you know, this compound has exploded and killed a member of your family, yet he was still so infatuated with it, he continued on developing the product, which then became known as dynamite, and in 1867 he patented it as dynamite, and he actually demonstrated it in the UK for the first time in Surrey, in a quarry. And then obviously since then dynamite's been used to sort of develop the railroads across the US, so the US is very famous for having these great vast railroads that would not have been possible to be made without the invention of dynamite. So the newspaper, this is probably one of the most famous stories that goes along with Alfred Nobel. So in 1888, his brother died actually while visiting Cairns in France, and a newspaper in error published that it was Alfred that had died, and in his obituary they called him the Merchant of Death. So obviously he'd invented dynamite. They said that he became famous by finding more ways to kill people faster than ever before. That's a direct quote from the newspaper themselves. Now, having no wife or children, this really struck Nobel as this was going to be the way he was remembered. That was the legacy he was going to leave behind, and it really took a profound effect on him, and actually this newspaper is credited with changing his life. So the Nobel Prizes is probably one of the most famous things that comes along through Alfred Nobel. You say Nobel Prizes, a lot of people wouldn't even assume, unless you're into the scientific world, that actually there's a person behind this. And in 1895, just a year before Nobel's death, he was exiled from France because he was committed high treason against the French by selling explosives to the Italians. So he moved to Italy, and while there, he decided to donate 94% of his estate to establish the Nobel Prizes, which were going to be given out to anyone that shows distinction in physical science, chemistry, medical science, or physiology, were the first 3. Literacy work, and the 5th prize, obviously, is to people that renders the greatest service to the cause of international fertility, which we know is widely known as the Nobel Peace Prize. And then that's the end. So, questions or anything?